I work at a local Burger King in my city in Ohio. A few nights ago, I was working the closing shift, which is 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. It's a shorter shift, but it's the heaviest one of the day. And not just because it's busy, because all the weirdos seem to come out after the sun goes down. And this right here is the story of the most bizarrely disturbing encounter I've ever had while working in that Ohio Burger King. So, it must have been only like half an hour until closing, and round about this time the throngs of late-night diners start to kind of peter out, allowing us to close a few booths and generally get a head start on clean down before actually closing. The restaurant is getting quieter and quieter, and as time goes on, it actually seems like we might be able to get out of that place at a reasonable hour, which obviously we're all excited about. You see, we didn't get any overtime there, and they'd only pay us for 15 minutes after closing. The idea being to keep us from slacking and earning a few extra bucks in the makeup work after hours. So as I was saying, it's about half an hour from closing when I see a guy start walking towards the clear glass doors. They're double doors too, so picture the scene as he opens one door, uses the little hook to keep it open, then does the same with the other door so that both sets of doors are wide open, like he's ready for an entire mob of people to start walking through the entrance. But instead of an entire mob of people, there came only one, although I'm guessing she weighed about as much as 3 or 4 other people. This woman was in a mobility scooter, or more accurately, spilling out from over a mobility scooter. I really don't mean to be cruel here, but she was disgusting. Objectively disgusting. She couldn't have weighed any pound less than 600, and her size was such that she actually needed an oxygen tank attached to her scooter, a clear plastic line running from it up into her nostrils. She scoots her way to the counter with her man and proceeds to just smile at him while he orders something for her. Something being the single biggest order I'd ever taken down in the entire time I've worked there. And I'm talking even more than the frat boys who come in drunk one Saturday night. The order came to just shy of $150 and took about 20 minutes to prepare. Keep in mind that the average serving time in our restaurant at that period was like 6 minutes. 6 minutes for an entire bag of meals, and this order took 20, with every member of our staff preparing it. When it was done, the worst part commenced. She scooted herself over to a table with her man, who then proceeded to feed her pretty much the entire order in the space of about 10 minutes. It was absolutely disgusting. But honestly, I couldn't decide if it was worse that we were bearing witness to that whole thing, or that the guy seemed to take immense pleasure in making a freaking mess while he was feeding her. By the time they left, there were fries and ranch dressing everywhere, all over the floor. Tons of fries had been crushed underfoot in that way that you have to really scrub to get them up. The whole thing added a bunch of extra time to our cleanup. But that's not the thing that scared me. It's how into the whole feeding thing they were. How the woman was hurtling towards an early grave and seemed to be loving it. A wild thing happened to my girlfriend and I at Burger King a couple of weeks ago. We ordered a bunch of food, got our drinks, and sat down at a table near the corner of the restaurant. A minute after we ordered, a guy goes up to the counter and orders. He wasn't out of place, so I didn't notice anything about him for a few minutes. He sits down where you typically would sit if you were waiting for a to-go order, and the first thing that got our attention was a kid, maybe 8 or 9 years old, ran past him. He loudly says, "Atheist!" at the kid in an accusing tone. He then was milling about, talking in a radio-like box about how he needed to move to the North Pole. It was seconds after this that I noticed that he was staring at us. As I made brief eye contact with him several times to check that he was indeed staring, he then walked over and sat at a table right next to my girlfriend and I. Great, I thought. He then starts babbling to some imaginary person saying, I don't know. Homeless and mentally ill are common in this area, especially this side of town, so we are on edge but not surprised at his behavior. The lady working calls for order 179. The guy says, they were before me," motioning to us, since he apparently forgot his number. The lady said, "2 cheeseburgers," and he again insisted it might be our food. By this time I realized what was happening, and I said, "Oh yeah, we are 178. At this point he snapped and totally lost it on me. "You Californians need to learn to open your mouths," as he grabbed his food and began walking in my direction to the exit. I mustered up what fight-or-flight response I had in the moment to say, "Have a nice day, see ya," as he approached the door, and Crazy Guy continues to cuss at me, calling me names. A few words were exchanged, but I made sure to stand my ground but not say anything off-color as he made his way out. As he left, he apparently continued to scream at us through the window. All employees and customers in that place were looking at me in shock, and I was shocked too. The part that bothers me about this interaction is that in the moment, as he walked past me, I saw in his eyes how removed from reality he was, whether that be because of drugs or mental illness or a combination of both. He was also much larger than me, so if he wanted to hurt me or my girlfriend, he likely could have. Needless to say, every time I go to that Burger King from now on, I make sure I scope out the area before going in. I've been pretty heavily involved in various fast food jobs since I was old enough to work, and I am now a manager down here in Florida. We experience a fair share of problems on a daily basis, but the worst has to be people who are using or addicted to drugs. They're everywhere in our industry. I mean it. The fun never stops for fast food workers. I have seen deals in the back of the kitchen, in the parking lot, in the bathroom, or walk-in. It used to be worse before my time, apparently, but honestly, I find that pretty hard to believe. My boyfriend of 10 years, who is way higher up the management chain than me, told me in the old days they would all hang out in employee parking even if it wasn't their shift, and just everyone would constantly switch cars while doing various substances. The first week I became a deputy manager, I had to cuss an employee out when she came in to work high on crystal. Not about her coming in on meth, for not doing any work. My boyfriend also tells me he came in and worked in the kitchen for a bit when it wasn't even his shift because he was rolling. Lastly, to this day, 90% of the employees come in with eyes redder than Satan's wiener. I used to be one of them, but a higher-up singled me out, and now I don't do it to spite them. This is most fast food places, but nothing can prepare you for walking into a bathroom to do a routine check and seeing a person's leg sticking out from under the stall. I remember being super tired that day. Just one of those shifts you're just trying to make it through instead of actually putting in any real work. I lazily grabbed the cleaning supplies from the cleaning closet, wandered into the woman's bathroom with my pen in hand, ready to sign my initials on the sheet to show we were being diligent and all that stuff. I straight up dropped the pen when I saw that girl's leg sticking out from under the stall, then ran. Ran back to the manager's office to call the paramedics. They kept asking if the girl was still breathing, and I had no idea. It wasn't a cordless phone, so I had to grab another team member to get them to check for me. They did not take it well. I don't think they'd ever seen another person on the verge of death like that, lips turning blue and stuff, and I had to send them home early when all was said and done. I don't really blame her either. It was a horrifying thing to behold. The paramedics showed up, and luckily this was at a time when the use of Narcan was becoming increasingly prevalent. For those that don't know, Narcan is a nasal spray that can reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. So luckily for us, and the girl in question, no one died that day. But the thing that sticks with me is the look I saw in that girl's eyes when we opened up the stall so the medics could get to her. I had to shimmy up the bathroom stall before jumping down, careful not to land on her so I could unlock the stall door. The medics wanted to kick it in, but it was quicker and much less expensive for me to just climb over. But when I did, I kid you not, the wide-eyed look of fear in that girl's eyes, the cold sweat clinging to her brow as she crept further and further towards death's door. I had never been so creeped out in my entire life.